Fight Back with Libby Znaimer on Zoomer Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome. It's Thursday, time to talk about all things municipal. And last week we were all over the unexpected news that longtime very left-wing Councillor Gord Perks was not going to run again in Parkdale High Park. And since then, I've been wondering if the 30,000 people who signed petitions opposing the plans that he spearheaded for High Park would organize and try to put forward a candidate who would represent and reflect their views at City Hall and maybe try to change things. Well, I'm still wondering, and it begs the question of organizing. It's very difficult to go up against an incumbent in a municipal race, certainly here in Toronto, but there is no incumbent, certainly in that ward. And we'll talk a little bit about what it takes to get into the game. And speaking of the game, there was a nasty spat between the only declared mayoral candidate, Bradford, and the undeclared mayoral candidate, Olivia Chow. It happened when she made announcements about going after a bad landlord in Bradford's ward. She didn't invite him to the announcement, and he accused her of inappropriately using the mayor's office, the mayor's budget, to unofficially campaign people. What do you think? Was he on the right track with that? And what is it when it comes to FIFA that we just turn into doormats and swoon and open our wallets wider and wider? So in addition to all of that, and this is FIFA, like not the most honorable organization in the world, we learned that despite the fact that we have progressive left-wing governments at just about, well, not at the provincial level, we're learning that the federal government gave FIFA exemptions in workplace protections and workplace laws protecting workers, so presumably they can make more money when they come and have the games here. To me, this just boggles the mind. So very anxious to hear what people think about all of this and more. The numbers to call: the text line, 866-740-4740. That's also the long-distance phone line. And the local phone line, 416-360-0740.
And now, it's time to tune into the town.
And now I'd like to welcome Toronto City Councillors John Burnside, Ward 16, Don Valley East, James Pasternak, Ward 6, York Centre, and Mike Colle, Ward 8, Eglinton-Lawrence, and the Deputy Mayor of North York. And James, we didn't talk to you last week. We had breaking news here. Both John and Mike confirmed that they are standing for election again. How about you?
Yes, this is. I'll give you a scoop, Libby. I will be running again this term. I haven't filed yet because I'd like to wrap up some city business before I become an official candidate. It's just a little cleaner that way. But I'm very excited about the election and another term.
Okay, so all of you are or will very soon be candidates. So let's start then with this spat between Bradford and Olivia Chow, and the whole notion of, the rules are, and they're basically at all levels of government, that you should not use your government position, your government budget to promote your candidacy. And the question was Olivia Chow doing that? She went to a building in Bradford's ward, and it was a building with a bad building, a bad landlord. I think there's probably no question about it. And she announced that she will be going after them, and the city will be moving in and doing repairs and charging the landlord. She didn't invite Bradford, which would have been customary. So what do you think, James? Was she using her position inappropriately, or was this just, the advantage of incumbency?
Well, I've almost sort of answered the question. I'm delaying registering so I can wrap up some city business before I become an official candidate. But we are in a gray area. We're in an election period, and we have to be very careful about what city resources and assets from our office that are used. At the same time, we're not like MPs and MPPs, where during a writ period we no longer hold those positions. We continue to remain as councillors and she the mayor during the campaign period. The real cutoff is August the 1st, and where you're strictly forbidden from sending out e-newsletters, press releases, any kind of mailer from your office during that period from, let's say, August to October. Now, I think the real issue here is the protocol. And the nice thing to do is when the mayor, any mayor, is in a local ward for a local issue, you do, as a courtesy, invite the local councillor to participate. They may not, but the courtesy is to invite them. So I think that's the real problem here. If she wants to delay registering and continue to use the resources of the mayor's office, that is a gray area she's in, and she has to be careful. But I think the issue is always extend an invitation to the local councillor if you're going to be in his or her ward.
Well, yeah, she also trashed him. John, what do you think? Was she out of line doing that?
Yeah, I think it was in poor taste. I mean, look, she's been into Don Valley East, where I represent, and met some folks at various mosques. Didn't invite me. To me, I don't get too worried about that. But look, for Brad to get all upset, I think that's a little over the top. He declared way back in the fall that he was running for mayor, and he's enjoyed a lot of press after that declaration by virtue of the fact that he's a sitting city councillor. Anyone else that would have made that declaration would get no media. So he's been able to use the office to his advantage for this upcoming election. I think it's a little bit rich for him to complain that she might be operating in some gray areas as well.
Mike, what's your view?
Yeah, I agree with John. I mean, this is a bit rich. I mean, Brad has been running for mayor for the last, since he ran the last time. But anyways, what I'm more upset about is this is going to be he said, she said, for the next 6 months. And, as much as the mayor's position is important and et cetera, but, it's about time people started paying attention to the 24 councillors in their ward, in their area, because, if you get 15 councillors that believe in a certain way of governing the city, they can have control over the mayor. The mayor still has to get her 14, 15 votes, and that's not easy to do. So that's why I'm saying, people should start paying attention to their local issues and not get caught up in this constant soap opera about what the mayor did or who invited, or did Brad have a fundraiser up in York Region? I mean, all this stuff. I think there's more important things to be talking about than this, cat fight, dog fight, whatever it is.
Well, I mean, people don't pay that much attention to municipal elections altogether, and it's like, sometimes I'm amazed. It's if you watch, CP 224 and people have it on, it's like the mayor's personal television show. She's on constantly, dressed up and cutting a ribbon or making a statement or attending a festival, and that's part of the reason I think people focus on the mayor and don't pay attention or enough attention to you guys and the real issues. And
That's a great point, Libby. I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, CP24 is like a personal propaganda machine for the mayor's office, and they pay little attention to anything that's going on in our wards unless there's some unfortunate thing that happens. A fire. Whatever, the latest shooting, and so they might ask us for comments there. But so it's certainly that's where it starts.
Well, yeah, and I have to say, I mean, people whose memory goes back, we started CP24. It wasn't quite like that. It's different now, and I have to say, with councillors who want to get attention, and this is, I keep talking about this. It's one of my pet peeves, as I've fully disclose, I am on my local residents association. We're in St. Paul's, which is Josh Matlow's ward. He won with the biggest plurality. Now, I see Josh is not interested when we want him to talk about traffic lights, about stop signs, like really boring stuff, about proposed new bike lanes that empty into people's private driveways. No, I do see him talking about things he has no jurisdiction over. Provincial jurisdiction, I mean, I can't tell. Does he want to be the premier? Does he want to be the provincial Liberal leader? Does he want to be prime minister?
All of the above.
All of the above, but the really boring, I will say, nerdy things that, frankly, are the purview of councillors and that really affect people's lives, forget about it.
Well, if you want to stay in the office, you have to go adhere to the view that all politics are local, that people will really appreciate your hard work if you get a street paved or a pothole filled or a tree planted, or you fix the roof of your community center, and simply answering phone calls. These are the crucial pieces, and many people don't understand what the other levels of government really do on a day-to-day basis, but they understand that the municipal government affects everyone's day-to-day life and how they live in their neighborhoods and how they function on a daily basis. And ideally, the councillor's role is to stay local, and we've got enough on our plate without meddling in other areas of jurisdiction and other levels of government. So that's our approach here up in York Centre.
Okay, I'm going to give the numbers out again because I'm going to pick up on something James just said. So 866-740-4740, the text line 416-360-0740. You mentioned potholes. Last Friday, I went on what I thought was a bit of a rant because there was city workers came to my street and fixed some huge potholes, but they did a lousy job. And was not, I mean, I deal with people who do physical work all the time and they take pride in their work and we respect their work. But this was not the work of people who take pride in their work. The potholes were not as bad as they used to be, but they were still kind of concave and there was asphalt like dirt around them. And I thought, okay, I'm going on a rant. People won't like it. The floodgates opened. And I had all these calls from people talking about shoddy work on things like potholes. So what does it take for city councillors, for a mayor to get city workers, to do a good job? Mike?
Yeah, no, this is the reality of local government. It's those sidewalks, the potholes, the things that people really care about. And I know it doesn't make headlines or anything, but so when work is done poorly or they're not respectful, people get very upset. And I know that we spend a lot of our time following up, tracking down, trying to get staff to do things in our parks, on our streets, our sidewalks. And it's very aggravating to constantly be doing this, and especially this year when you had the explosion of potholes everywhere. It really takes up a lot of time and causes a lot of dissatisfaction amongst the citizenry. And believe me, like I told John Burnside, I used to go around with my truck with a bag of asphalt in the back of my truck because I got so aggravated waiting for a pothole to be fixed. When people are tripping over it, I would just do it myself quietly. I don't want to, say I'm doing this full time, but that's the level of aggravation we sometimes face as councillors.
John, I mean, we've had a huge increase in our property taxes. I mean, what has gotten out of whack and out of control that, we have, a whole city machinery, but you can't get them to do a proper job. And I don't understand, if you're already taking the time to do something, from my point of view, you may as well do it right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair statement. Now, first of all, if you do want the pothole fixed properly, you do need to move to Eglinton-Lawrence, where they have the pothole king known as Mike Colle.
Don't spread that word. They'll be phoning
the pothole king. That's his moniker. Certainly when I'm there beside him at City Council. But in all seriousness, the basic problem in government is accountability. It's holding people to account. And government does a very poor job. I mean, one of the reasons is there is a level of unionization, and those folks are already operating in a monopoly situation. So you have the double whammy there. But it goes further than that, because that's what supervisors and managers are there for, is to manage. And we have a serious deficit in that area. I don't know what the unfortunately I don't know what the solution is, but that's the big disconnect, and I think that's the problem Olivia Chow is going to have, is that she's raised taxes by 20%, but people don't feel like we've got 20% more of an improvement in what's going on. In fact, some would argue things are getting worse, and I would, because as I keep saying about potholes are like putting a Band-Aid on a wound. If the roads were in good shape, you wouldn't have potholes. That's a symptom of underinvestment in our roads, and that investment has actually gone down since she's taken office, whereas taxes have gone up 20%.
Yep. Okay, so I guess the question is, where does that leave us? And if you're a grassroots person, you want to do something about it. How do you do something about it when, again, it's so difficult to dislodge an incumbent? And even if you have an open field like they do in Parkdale High Park, people don't seem to know how to organize unless they're with Progress Toronto.
Well, there's already a number of candidates already registered there. I see a few of them that have run before. They're already ready to go, and don't worry, there'll be a lot of candidates running in Parkdale High Park. But, the problem with the bigger wards, you got to remember, we're in wards the size of the city of Guelph or Peterborough. So in one, whether it's Parkdale High Park or any of our wards, there's so many multiple neighborhoods, geographic, and it's really hard for them to understand what's going on in the other corner of the ward. So, and in every corner of a ward has a different issue. So that's hard for people to appreciate and have things in common. So that's why everything always gravitates to the sort of issue of the day out of the mayor's office, and the little local issues, which are very meaningful, sometimes don't get the attention they deserve.
Okay, well, here's one that's not local, and I don't understand. What is it with FIFA that turns Toronto into one big doormat? And so we just learned that in addition to all the other advantages that we granted them, to the exploding budgets that we've agreed to, the federal government now is going to relax worker protections, so presumably they can make more money from the stuff they have to do. I mean, John?
Well, I'm not as worked up about it as some. I mean, sure, they have a product that everyone wants, and so people make concessions. The way I see it, it's 90% of the workforce is actually provincially regulated anyway. But you have an event where these are extenuating circumstances. You have a surge in the need for capacity, and you can't necessarily fill that with regular folks. You have to get people who can work overtime. Much like when the Jays were in the World Series, I'm sure police were doing double shifts and things like that. It's not uncommon when you have these sorts of events where they're very limited in duration and there's a need for that surge in capacity.
James?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, James.
When it comes to these international bodies such as FIFA or the IOC, the Olympics, or even the Commonwealth Games, they march into a city with a 200-page agreement, and unless the local municipal council and mayor sign, they're off to the next city. So they very much dictate the rules. Now, I'm not sure what the federal government has promised, but they only regulate federally regulated industries. So that would be things like railways, airlines, communications, internet, television, that kind of thing. So I don't know what rules they could peel back and how that would impact the games. But we always have exemptions when we have big things going on in the city. And of course, when it comes to clergy, the military, and elected officials, we're not really covered by standard labor laws. So. I would say that when it comes to the construction, that's workplace safety. Overtime is paid according to your collective bargaining agreement, and of course, you have to have people, the labor regulatory authorities locally watching work sites. So. I'm not sure how much impact this guarantee, but yeah, I think it's frustrating when these international organizations march into the city and start dictating the rules, especially when they start beating up on restaurants and pubs that are trying to attract customers during the FIFA celebrations, and they're using maybe a FIFA logo or the FIFA name. And Toronto municipal licensing officers are going in to enforce it. I think that's a little much.
That's a lot much. The other thing that we talked about was charging for the FIFA Fan Fest. So that was reversed, and part of it was free. And I think those tickets were snapped up, in a matter of hours, I think, Mike?
4 hours. They sold 220,000 tickets in 4 hours. And then I guess they're going to do another tranche in May, later on in May. I just think, FIFA is FIFA, and they are an international juggernaut that's really difficult to deal with. There's no doubt about it. But, there's also the Toronto Star seems to be on a mission to have a FIFA story a week. And this one here is basically a lot of hot air. The FIFA had asked for the federal government to consider.
Sorry.
They asked the federal government to consider possibly some flexibility with labor laws, which hardly affect, as John said, they hardly affect anything we do in the city here with this FIFA thing. None of these rules have been relaxed, yet it's a big front page story about big bad FIFA. And I think they're missing the point that the majority of people in the GTA, whatever it is, look upon this as a fun, positive thing. That they're going to cheer for their best team. They're going to go to their local bar. But I expect every week there's going to be, wow, look what FIFA did today. And FIFA does a lot of things that are quite interesting. But on the other hand, let's get over this nabobs of negativity approach to everything, and let them play the soccer, let them go and drink some beer at the local pubs, and the world won't end because FIFA asked for this technical exemption to what? I don't know.
I don't know what to say to all of that. We're less than a month away. No, just over a month away from the first game. And yes, it was a bit much to see municipal inspectors that often don't inspect a lot of things going on locally for somebody using a FIFA logo. And the other side of those free tickets to those fan fests, people paid over $300 for special access to one of those. I mean, the great marketing, if you could get it, that surprised me, John.
Yeah, well, and look, I was totally against giving out free tickets to FanFest because it's just an additional cost to the taxpayer. To Mike's point, there are a lot of bars that you can go out and support, which is actually what we're trying to accomplish, is supporting local business. And quite frankly, half the people won't even be from the city of Toronto. So there's the Toronto taxpayer subsidizing folks from the GTA. But I will be writing a letter to the city manager, Libby, ensuring that this isn't just some opportunity for city staff and politicians to get free tickets into FIFA. That only the people that need to be there are there.
Okay. You go and let us know how that goes, okay?
Yeah, everybody keeps calling me for tickets. They say, Mike, where's the tickets? I said, so they all assume we all got tickets going to the games. God, I think you'll see me on College at the Diplomatico. That's about the only place I'll be watching these games.
Well, I was promised tickets when I was negative by one of our contributors who actually works for FIFA, but he's walked that back. So I'll see you at the dip, Mike.
Yes. Yeah, we should make a date, the four of us at the dip.
Okay. On that note, we wrap things up. Thank you so much, Councillors John Burnside, James Pasternak, and Mike Colle, all of whom are or will be candidates for re-election. Thanks for joining us.